Welcome back in here on WQAM on this beautiful Monday morning. Hollywood, Omar Kelly, Dan Day, Jamie along here with you. And it's time to head out to the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. Shop over 2,000 Toyotas on sale at one location. Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. Toyota of Hollywood.com, where we are joined by our friend from the Sun Sentinel. He is a columnist. Dave Hyde is with us. Dave, good morning. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm sure everybody's just coming down from the U.S. hockey win, right?
Well,
didn't everybody watch it?
Absolutely thrilling yesterday, Dave. And I was going to get to that, but you sent something out on Twitter yesterday. It looked like you had a very interesting day. Are you able to share anything about what you did?
Oh yeah, with Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy.
Lunch you had or whatever that was. Yeah, just a little small.
Yeah. Every year at the Nautical Flea Market in Isla Mirada, Jimmy has some friends. Everybody meets and he walk around the flea market. Sometimes he'll like buy 100 T-shirts and start throwing them out to the crowd. He didn't do that this year. He stops at a youth baseball tent where every year they're going somewhere, and he does a fundraising. $20 a pitcher with him. The money goes to and then we end up at his Mexican restaurant there and have lunch and it's if you're out with Jimmy, you're laughing. That's basically he's telling jokes and but he gives a serious speech about how much people mean to him and it's just a great time. He's one of those guys who, and we all have friends like this who. You go out with them, that you're going to be laughing the whole time. That's how it is with Jimmy.
Well, Dave, the last time we heard from Jimmy, he was really genuinely fired up about this Bill Belichick thing with the Hall of Fame. And that thing, by the way, has kind of spiraled out of control with people. They want to tell who voted, they don't want to. People are all over the place with that. But Jimmy called, and he was genuinely furious about Belichick not getting in.
Yeah, he called me after he called you guys. I remember that morning, and his first word was, "I am pissed," he's friends with Belichick, and he like pretty much everybody couldn't understand what happened there. And it's still kind of a bizarre that the most decorated coach, the guy who's won the most in the NFL, isn't in the Hall of Fame. And no matter what ballot at first, obviously he's going to get in, but he's like that with his friends. So he had on Friday before, this Friday, he had a bunch of his former football guys in too, and there were supposed to be more, but like Zach Thomas, Larry Izzo, Trace Armstrong thought it was next month, not this month. So, but he's very loyal to his friends.
Dave Hyde here with us on QAM. Dave, I want to try to get to everything here with you. You've had columns on Canes basketball. You got this column on a former Dolphin that I thought was really interesting. So we'll get to that. I had no idea who that guy was. It's a very interesting column. We'll get to that in just a moment. But this Matthew Tkachuk story and USA Hockey, and Matthew Tkachuk still continues to be, Dave, probably the best, most successful athlete we got in town right now, outside of, I don't know, maybe Messi. But he continues to dominate and basically is the face of USA Hockey. Is he underappreciated down here for everything that he has accomplished, with the Stanley Cups and, the gold medal and just everything that he's done? Is he underappreciated down here?
I think he's appreciated to the level hockey's appreciated down here. I think, look, he's won, you start adding it up. He won 2 Stanley Cup titles, the gold medal. He won the fight against Hagel in the Four Nations face-off. He's pretty much won everything that you could win in hockey over the last couple of years. The only disappointment down here, and maybe this is why he's underappreciated, is the injuries down here. So we really haven't been able to talk about him this year at all, really. And last year he was hurt too, and what he came back into the season in early February or late January. I can't remember the exact date this year. So and last year he missed so much of the season right to the playoffs, and then he probably shouldn't have played in the playoffs, and he was a star in the playoffs. So I don't know if he's underappreciated, but he's just been out of the picture to the point that, like, we can't talk about him on a daily basis because he's been hurt so much.
Mm-hmm. I just wish, Dave, and I know that, as Tua would put it, the market is the market. There is a market to discuss Tua and all of his whatever, and there's just maybe someday it'll be the day, but I'd love to sit and just talk about Matthew Tkachuk's success and it's just such a great story. But people would, I suppose, rather hear about Tua and his AI photo of him looking like he gained 50 pounds. But
what? I didn't hear about that. People are making AI photos of Tua now.
Yeah, fake news, Dave. Fake news.
Omar's been catfished twice recently, Dave. Did you know that?
No, I was walking the dog and I looked at your segments on Friday and I saw you had a catfishing segment, but I haven't listened to it. So update me on Omar. What happened?
No, it's not even worth mentioning, Dave. Don't even worry about it.
Mentioning Dave, maybe off the air, but it is worth mentioning. It's pretty funny.
It's just rough out here on the dating scene, Dave. It's rough.
Yeah,
AI. Women are going crazy with these AI photos now. Making themselves younger, making themselves thinner, making themselves prettier. It's difficult out here, Dave.
Omar, the tough world you live in. Omar's world, it can be a rough place sometimes. But Tkachuk, you could talk about it, and beyond all that, he's a great personality. Beyond everything he's won, and the moments he's had in games, he's a great live wire personality, and you could talk more. I mean, I'm sure we will. The interesting thing about the Panthers now, they play 25 games in 49 days, if I have that right. A lot of them on the road. Thanks in part to this Olympic schedule, they got to compact all the other games in the remaining days, and boy, if I forget the record they need to have, but it's like 19-6 or something like that to make the playoffs as you project the point totals.
Dave Hyde here with us on WQAM, and Dave, I'll let Omar get into the Dolphins discussion with you in just a second here, but you had a column about the University of Miami basketball team. That is a subject that I am very passionate about. I got to tell you that game over the weekend was absolutely a thriller. Miami comes up just short on Saturday, loses by 3 to Virginia in a game that just went back and forth and back and forth. And I know you wrote about Jay Lucas and how he came here with no staff and no players and what he's turned this thing into. It's the best turnaround, by the way, in all of Division I basketball, what he's been able to do this year. He's got them set, I would think, Dave, to get into the NCAA tournament here. Just an incredible turnaround, and not the only program at the University of Miami right now that is thriving. I mean, you got football that is coming off a national championship appearance. You got baseball that's undefeated to start the season. They got things rolling over there.
Yeah, what Lucas has done in basketball is fascinating. Just for Jim Larinaga is one of my favorite guys to cover here. But when he left and the whole NIL era, guys just left the program and it was really empty. And I didn't realize Lucas didn't even bring any assistant coaches with him. Like usually a guy comes in here to a new coach comes to a new school and somebody's coming with him. Somebody who knows him, how he operates. And so he's really said, I've really had to coach 3 different entities here. The team, obviously, his coaching staff, and then the third is the support staff around on how he likes to do things. And to be able to do all that, first of all, to fill the roster up with enough players to have the season they're having is pretty incredible. But then also some of the games. Look at the last 3 games. They came back. Was it Virginia Tech? They came back at 8 points. They're down 8 points in the last minute and
that
won.
Was
and then
they did come back against Tech too, though. Yeah, it was they have found their way to rescue themselves in these games, and the way that they've done it too, like late free throws in back-to-back games to win it. Not a very good free throw shooting team. Pretty incredible.
Right. Yeah, I think they were 7 of 17 at one point, and then they went the 3 straight. They won their previous game the exact way they lost this one. 3 straight free throws at the end. Yeah. And so it's a fun team to watch. In addition to it's a completely new team.
Dave, we talk. Speaking of completely new teams, the Miami Dolphins will basically be building a new roster because this one that they've presently got is gutted. They've got really no money to restructure that team. So more than likely, we're going to be looking at another draft class that has to come in and contribute right away. Obviously, the quarterback situation is a little bit unstable, uncertain. But how do you feel about Malik Willis? Have you looked at his film? Have you checked him out? I from my standpoint, if anybody knows him, it would be Sullivan and Hafley, because they've seen him for 2 years on an extensive basis, more than anybody else. Would you be okay if they decided to greenlight it and give him $30 million in guaranteed money?
Wow. Well, there's 2 teams that really know him, them and Arizona, whose quarterback coach in Green Bay last year is the offensive coordinator. I'm drawing a blank on his name. His dad recruited and coached Joe, actually, at California. But,
you talking about the guy who we hired here as the quarterback coach and left us?
Yes.
Okay.
And if they had hired him here, then you think Malik Willis, assuming they like him, and that's the assumption that we're all making. And I always go back to when Seattle was Matt Flynn.
Yeah, that was the situation.
Remember that? Joe Philbin came here from Green Bay, and we're all like, "Oh, they're going to get Matt Flynn then," because he was the offensive coach, and Matt Flynn, sort of like Malik Willis, had a hot run at the end of his season right before free agency, and it turned out Joe Philbin didn't like Matt Flynn, and he went to Seattle, where he was beaten out by Russell Wilson.
They also had Mike Sherman, who was Ryan Tannehill's head coach at Texas A&M. So they wanted the younger, cheaper quarterback, more established quarterback. But where do you stand on Malik Willis and whether or not Dolphins should be an all-in with him?
All in is I'm not sure all in as in 30. At the end of the season, I talked to Mike Tannenbaum up in the Dolphins press box, ran into him, asked him what it would take, and he said $30 million. And that's just off the top of his head. I don't know whether he's changed his thoughts when he actually thought about it more. But here's my thoughts on the Dolphins and Malik. I watched Malik Willis at the end of last year, and I thought, wow, he looks really good. He runs, he's got a good arm, he made a lot of plays in a short period, which is always the dangers. It's always the caveat you got to throw in there, because we were down here, anybody old enough to remember when Dan Marino got hurt, and all of a sudden here comes the new guy in, and he's great, and he signs a big deal with Detroit and flops. So
I don't think he flopped. He led them to the playoffs.
He wasn't the player they thought he was. He could be, right? And that's when you get more at bats and defenses, adjust to you, et cetera.
Absolutely.
So what will Malik Willis be when that happens? I don't know, but my thought on the Dolphin quarterback situation in general is they got to throw darts at the board. They got Quinn Ewers. they got to get a free agent like a Malik Willis, and then draft somebody too, and hope one of them is really good. And if not, then do it all again next year, and then keep going until you get a quarterback. Don't do this. If they do sign Malik Willis, don't do this. He's our franchise quarterback, and we're going to give him 6 years, no matter what, which is what the Dolphins just seem to do.
Yes.
The past regime. So
6 years, no competition, by the way. Yes.
Yeah. No, and these guys rightfully have said there's going to be competition. We're going to get a guy every year. We have, but there's a track record in Green Bay where you look at, they make that room uncomfortable, that quarterback room. They look at Favre. They drafted Aaron Rodgers a few years before Favre was ready to go, and he hated that. Then the same thing when they drafted Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers was uncomfortable. So, you know, and they're drafting other guys constantly through there. The Matt Flynn's, the Mark Brunells, the other guys who've gone on to be backups.
If Louisville drafted in the earlier round before even Aaron Rodgers was. So they believe in drafting and developing quarterbacks. The question is there a quarterback to draft and develop in this draft?
Yeah, that's And what do you think of Tyler Simpson? And because that would be the only option early for them, right? And what do they think of them?
I think there's
somebody else.
Yeah, there's a kid from North Dakota State that a lot of people are talking about, but not necessarily in the first round. But yeah, it's slim pickings here.
Dave, really quick before we let you run, I just you have this article up, this column up about a former Dolphin bust. Can you tell us a little bit about this one? I know Joe is going to be very interested in this one. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, well, it jumped. You know, I saw a couple maybe a month ago that Dion Jordan was named head coach at Division III Eureka College in Illinois, and it was like, wow. And you know, I just filed it away when things slowed up, and I called him up, and he called back, great interview, great guy, and I, you know, what I wrote was, you know, sometimes we meet people the wrong chapter in their life, and we met Dion Jordan. As he said, I was 24, made mistakes. You know, he didn't backpedal away from anything. At the same time, he didn't allow that to define himself either. You know, here he is, 35, and he goes, now, you know, I'm at a different point in my life, and now it's interesting too how he got to Eureka College. Randy Starks was the previous coach and called him up and said, hey, I need some help. And Dion was in Arizona at home, and he moved there 2 years ago. And then Randy Starks moved to University of South Florida this off season, and they named Jordan coach. Yep. So I love stories like that of guys who we meet so many guys with the Dolphins, and I'm coaches. Mainly when the elevator's going down, you know, it's probably the worst point in their careers, and we have to write about them and all that. So it's nice to see somebody who's, you know, he's not defined by everything that happened here.
Definitely.
Well, Dave, we could check that column out in the Sun Sentinel. Very cool that you were able to track Dion Jordan down and write about him. Dave, thank you for the time. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right, guys. Good talking to you.
All right, Dave Hyde from the Sun Sentinel. We went around the world there with Dave. A little bit of everything. A lot of stuff going on there that Dave is covering right now here in town. We're going to take a pause. Alex Dono, speaking of a lot of stuff, we got a lot to get to with Alex Dono. He's going to join us in about 15 minutes from now. He's going to spend an hour with us here this morning. We'll talk some Canes and some Dolphins with him as well. That'll be in the 8 o'clock hour here on QIM.